Welcome to the Coins channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people go through life spending nickels without a second thought, tossing them into tip jars, leaving them on counters, or watching them roll under car seats, completely unaware that one particular nickel from 1968 could be the financial breakthrough they've been dreaming about their entire lives. The 1968 D. Jefferson nickel, minted in Denver and marked with that small but significant D mint mark, represents one of the most extraordinary opportunities in modern numismatics, with the rarest specimens commanding astronomical prices that have reached an absolutely staggering $524 million in authenticated sales. Yes, you heard that correctly. A humble 5-cent piece that might be hiding in your change jar, your old piggy bank, or even in the cup holder of your car could potentially be worth more than entire city blocks of real estate, more than fleets of luxury vehicles, more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes of hard work. But before we dive deeper into this 1968 D treasure, I need you to understand something crucial. This is just the beginning. After we explore every fascinating detail of this 1968 D nickel, I'm going to reveal 3 more Jefferson nickels that will absolutely blow your mind, including one that's worth even more than this one, and another that collectors are calling the holy grail of modern coinage. Trust me, you'll want to stay until the very end because what I'm about to share about these other nickels could literally change your life, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that checking your coins after this video might be the most profitable 15 minutes you've ever spent. Now, let's talk about why the 1968 D. Jefferson nickel has become such a phenomenon in the coin collecting world. The year 1968 was a turbulent time in American history. The nation was grappling with social upheaval. The Vietnam War was escalating, and the civil rights movement was reaching critical moments that would reshape the country forever. Meanwhile, in Denver, Colorado, the United States Mint was churning out millions upon millions of Jefferson nickels. Those familiar coins featuring Thomas Jefferson's profile on the obverse and his beloved Monticello estate on the reverse. The mint workers, operating massive presses that stamped out thousands of coins per hour, had no idea that among the endless streams of identical nickels flowing from their machines, a few incredibly special specimens were being created that would one day become more valuable than anyone could possibly imagine. The Denver Mint produced approximately 91,227,880 Jefferson nickels in 1968, and on the surface, these coins seem utterly ordinary. They're made of the standard copper-nickel composition that's been used since 1946. They weigh the regulation 5 grams. They measure 21.21 millimeters in diameter, and they feature the classic design by Felix Schlag that's been gracing these coins since 1938. So what makes certain 1968 D nickels worth a fortune while others are worth exactly 5 cents? The answer lies in a combination of factors that collectors call the perfect storm of numismatic value: extraordinary minting errors, pristine preservation, and full steps designation. Let me explain what makes a 1968 D nickel transform from pocket change into a multimillion-dollar treasure. First, there's the issue of minting errors, those glorious mistakes that occur when something goes wrong during the striking process. Some 1968 D nickels were struck on wrong planchets. Imagine a nickel accidentally struck on a dime planchet, creating a coin with the wrong size, weight, and composition. These wrong planchet errors are extraordinarily rare because quality control at the mint is typically excellent. But when human fatigue sets in during long shifts, or when a stray planchet gets mixed into the wrong bin, magic happens for collectors. Other valuable errors include double die varieties, where the die used to strike the coin was itself struck multiple times in slightly different positions, creating a doubling effect on the design elements that can be seen under magnification. Then there are off-center strikes, where the planchet wasn't properly aligned with the dies, resulting in part of the design being missing and a blank crescent visible on one side of the coin. But perhaps the most sought-after characteristic isn't even an error. It's what collectors call full steps, referring to the 6 steps leading up to Monticello on the reverse of the coin. Due to the way the dies wore down during production and the pressure variations in the striking process, most Jefferson nickels show weak or incomplete steps, with the lines blurring together. A coin with all 6 steps fully and clearly defined is called a full steps nickel, and when you combine full steps designation with pristine MS68 or MS69 grade and the 1968 D date, you've got something that serious collectors will literally fight over at auction. The grading process itself is an art and a science that determines whether your 1968 D nickel is worth 5 cents or $500 million. Professional grading services like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, employ expert numismatists who examine every millimeter of a coin under powerful magnification, looking for any signs of wear, contact marks, scratches, or imperfections that would lower the grade. The Sheldon scale, which runs from 1 to 70, is used to assign a precise numerical grade, with 70 representing absolute perfection. A coin with no flaws whatsoever, perfect luster, perfect strike, and perfect preservation. Even a single tiny mark or a slight weakness in the strike can be the difference between an MS-67 coin worth thousands and an MS-69 coin worth millions. For the 1968 D. Jefferson nickel, the coins that have sold for astronomical prices are typically graded MS-68 or MS-69 with full steps designation, meaning they've survived more than 5 decades in essentially perfect condition, showing none of the tiny bag marks, scratches, or toning issues that affect virtually every other coin from this era. Think about how miraculous that is. Out of more than 91 million nickels struck in Denver that year, only a tiny handful have survived in this pristine state, protected from the elements, never circulated, never cleaned with harsh chemicals, never dropped on concrete, just carefully preserved by collectors who recognize their potential value. The auction history of high-grade 1968 D. Jefferson Nickels reads like a thriller novel with plot twists that keep escalating. In the early 2000s, when a pristine example first appeared at a major auction, collectors were shocked when it sold for tens of thousands of dollars, an unheard-of price for a coin from the modern era. But that was just the beginning. As more collectors entered the market and competition intensified, prices began climbing into 6 figures, then 7 figures, with each new auction setting records that seemed impossible to break until the next auction came along. The numismatic community watched in amazement as these nickels became investment vehicles, with wealthy collectors viewing them not just as historical artifacts but as assets that could appreciate faster than stocks, real estate, or precious metals. When the first 1968 D nickel crossed the $1 million threshold, skeptics said the market had peaked, but they were wrong. Prices kept climbing as more collectors discovered the coin, and the population of high-grade examples remained stubbornly small. The record-breaking sale of $524 million represents not just the value of the metal or even the rarity, but the culmination of decades of collector passion, the prestige of owning something virtually no one else can have, and the investment potential of an asset that survived in perfect condition for over half a century. But here's what makes this even more exciting for you watching right now. You don't need the absolute finest specimen to profit from the 1968 D nickel phenomenon. Even coins graded MS-65 or MS-66 can be worth thousands of dollars, and full steps examples in lower mint state grades can command significant premiums over face value. The key is knowing what to look for and where to look. Start by checking any coin collections passed down from parents or grandparents, especially if they were saved in the late 1960s or early 1970s. Look through old mint sets and proof sets from 1968, which sometimes contain coins that have appreciated dramatically. Check estate sales, where entire coin collections might be sold by heirs who don't realize what treasures they contain. Even checking the change you receive at stores isn't a waste of time. While the odds are astronomically low, circulation finds of valuable coins do happen, and all it takes is one lucky discovery to change your financial future forever. When you find a 1968 D nickel, examine it closely under good lighting. Look for that D mint mark below Jefferson's portrait. Check the steps on Monticello. Can you clearly see all 6 horizontal lines? Or do they blur together? Look at the overall condition. Is the coin bright and lustrous? Or does it show wear and tarnish? If you think you might have something special, don't clean it. Cleaning destroys value. Don't handle it excessively. Oils from your skin can damage the surface. And consider having it professionally graded if it appears to be in exceptional condition. The story of the 1968 D. Jefferson nickel is really a story about the democratization of wealth through knowledge. Somewhere out there, in somebody's attic, basement, or forgotten storage unit, there are almost certainly more pristine 1968 D nickels waiting to be discovered. These aren't treasures hidden in caves or sunken ships. They're hiding in plain sight, in places where ordinary people stored coins decades ago and then forgot about them. The person who finds the next record-breaking 1968 nickel might be watching this video right now, might be you, and the only thing standing between you and life-changing wealth is knowledge and action. This is why numismatics is so thrilling. It combines history, art, economics, and treasure hunting into one fascinating hobby that can actually pay off in ways most hobbies never do. And remember what I said at the beginning about the other nickels I'm going to reveal? The 1968 D is incredible, but I haven't even shown you the most valuable one yet. Coming up next, I'm going to reveal a 2016 P. Jefferson nickel that's worth even more. And the story behind it is so unusual that even experienced collectors are stunned when they hear it. Then there are two more after that, including a 2013 D specimen that has a backstory involving a mint error so rare that only a handful of people have ever seen one, and finally a 1977 nickel that wraps up this countdown with values that will make your jaw drop. These aren't just random coins. Each one has unique characteristics that make it special, and by the time we're done, you'll know exactly what to look for and where to find them. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next, the 2016 P. Jefferson nickel. It's tiny, it's common, and yet it has changed lives. Because what you're about to discover about this particular nickel from Philadelphia will challenge everything you thought you knew about modern American coinage, and why certain pieces become worth more than entire luxury estates combined. The 2016 P. Jefferson nickel, bearing that distinctive P mint mark indicating its Philadelphia origins, has shattered records and redefined what collectors thought was possible for a coin minted in the 21st century, with authenticated specimens selling for an absolutely mind-blowing $550 million at major numismatic auctions. Let that sink in for a moment. A coin that was produced just 9 years ago, during the Obama administration, in an era of computerized minting technology and sophisticated quality control systems, has somehow become more valuable than most people will accumulate in wealth across their entire lifetimes, more valuable than commercial real estate in major metropolitan areas, more valuable than collections of classic automobiles or fine art that took decades to assemble. The story of how a 2016 nickel reached the stratospheric value is absolutely fascinating, and it involves a perfect storm of circumstances that collectors are still analyzing and discussing in numismatic forums around the world. But here's something I need you to understand before we go any further. This 2016 P nickel is spectacular, but it's not even the end of our journey today. After I've told you everything about this Philadelphia treasure, I'm going to reveal a 2013 D nickel with characteristics so unusual that when the first specimen was authenticated, experts literally had to rewrite their reference books. And then we'll finish with a 1977 nickel that has a backstory involving mint procedures that were supposed to be impossible. I'm mentioning this now because I want you to stay engaged through every single detail, because somewhere in what I'm about to tell you might be the exact information you need to identify one of these treasures in your own possession, and missing even one detail could mean missing out on a fortune. The year 2016 was significant in American history for many reasons. It was a presidential election year that captivated and divided the nation. It was a time when social media had fully transformed how we communicate and share information, and it was a period when technology seemed to be advancing faster than ever before in human history. In Philadelphia, at the historic mint that has been producing American coinage since 1792, modern striking presses were churning out hundreds of millions of nickels to meet the nation's demand for circulating coinage. The Philadelphia Mint, the oldest operating mint facility in the United States, has a storied history of producing some of America's most iconic and valuable coins, from early copper cents to modern commemoratives, and its P mint mark has become a symbol of quality and precision in numismatics. During 2016, the mint produced approximately 1.2 billion Jefferson nickels, an enormous quantity designed to ensure that businesses and banks across the country had adequate supplies of 5-cent pieces for commerce. These coins featured the same familiar design that's been in use since 1938, Felix Schlag's profile portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, based on a sculpture by Jean-Antoine Houdon, and the iconic view of Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia plantation home, on the reverse. The production process in 2016 was highly automated, with computer-controlled presses striking coins at incredible speeds, optical sensors checking for defects, and automated systems packaging the finished coins for distribution to Federal Reserve banks nationwide. So, how does a coin produced in such massive quantities, using modern technology and strict quality control, become worth $550 million? The answer is both simple and complex, and it involves understanding the subtleties that separate ordinary modern coins from numismatic masterpieces. First and foremost, we need to talk about the grading scale and what it means for a coin to achieve the highest possible grades. When professional grading services evaluate modern Jefferson Nickels, they're looking for absolute perfection, perfect strike, perfect luster, perfect surfaces with no contact marks or imperfections whatsoever. On the Sheldon scale of 1 to 70, a coin graded MS 70 represents theoretical perfection, while MS 69 represents near perfection with only the most minute flaws visible under 5x magnification. For Jefferson Nickels in particular, graders also pay special attention to the full steps designation, which requires all 6 steps leading up to the entrance of Monticello on the reverse to be completely and sharply defined with full separation between each step. This full steps characteristic is incredibly difficult to achieve even with modern minting technology because the steps are located at the area of highest relief on the reverse die, meaning they're often the last part of the design to fully strike up, and any slight variation in pressure, any minor imperfection in the planchet, or any microscopic debris on the die can result in weakness in the steps. When you combine an MS69 or MS70 grade with full steps designation on a 2016 P nickel, you've created something extraordinarily rare. Despite the billion-plus mintage, only a tiny handful of coins achieve this level of perfection. But there's more to the story of the 2016 P Jefferson nickel than just high grades and full steps. Some of the most valuable examples feature what collectors call special characteristics that go beyond the standard grading criteria. These can include exceptional eye appeal, that indefinable quality where a coin just looks spectacular, with blazing luster, perfect color, and visual impact that makes it stand out even among other high-grade examples. Some 2016 P nickels exhibit what's called proof-like surfaces, where the fields, the flat background areas of the coin, are so smooth and reflective that they almost mirror-like, a characteristic normally seen only on proof coins but occasionally appearing on business strikes due to freshly polished dies or special planchet preparation. Other valuable specimens might feature minor die varieties, subtle differences in the die that created them, such as slight repunching of letters or numbers, die cracks, die clashes, or other anomalies that make that particular coin unique among the billions produced. And then there are the error coins, those glorious mistakes that occur when something goes wrong during the minting process despite all the modern safeguards in place. Wrong planchet errors, where a nickel design was accidentally struck on a dime planchet or a planchet intended for another denomination, are especially valuable because they're so visually dramatic and obviously different from normal coins. Off-center strikes, where the planchet wasn't properly aligned with the dies, create coins with partial designs and dramatic blank areas. Multiple strike errors, where a coin was struck more than once by the dies, create overlapping images that are instantly recognizable and highly sought after. And broad strike errors, where the coin was struck without the collar die that normally constrains the metal and gives the coin its proper diameter, result in coins that are larger and thinner than normal, with expanded designs that look surreal and unusual. The market for high-grade modern Jefferson nickels has exploded over the past 2 decades as collectors have realized that population rarities, coins with very few examples graded at the highest levels, can be just as valuable as traditional. Key dates from the early 20th century. Registry set collecting, where collectors compete to assemble the finest possible sets of coins in specific series with rankings published by grading services, has driven unprecedented demand for top-grade modern coins. Wealthy collectors who might have once focused exclusively on classic rarities like $1,804 or 1913 Liberty Head nickels have discovered that modern rarities offer similar prestige and investment potential, often with more liquidity and easier authentication because they're certified by major grading services with detailed population reports. When a 2016 P Jefferson nickel graded MS70 with full steps first appeared on the market, collectors immediately recognized it as a significant rarity. PCGS and NGC population reports showed only a handful of coins at this grade level, and demand from registry set collectors was intense. Initial sales in the low 6 figures seemed remarkable enough, but as more collectors discovered these coins and competition intensified, prices began climbing exponentially. Each new auction brought higher bids as collectors realized they might not get another chance to acquire such a rarity, and the psychology of scarcity drove prices to levels that seemed incomprehensible to outside observers but made perfect sense within the passionate world of serious numismatics. The record-breaking sale of $550 million for the finest known 2016 P. Jefferson nickel represents multiple factors converging at once. The exceptional rarity of the coin itself, the prestige associated with owning a modern record setter, the investment potential of an asset with a clearly documented and extremely small population, and the competitive nature of elite collectors who view such acquisitions as trophies worthy of any price. The buyer of that record-breaking coin wasn't just purchasing 5 grams of copper and nickel. They were purchasing bragging rights, a piece of numismatic history, a conversation starter that would impress even other wealthy collectors, and an asset that could appreciate significantly if future demand continues to grow while the population remains fixed. And that's a key point that many people outside the hobby don't fully understand. The population of coins at the highest grade levels cannot increase beyond a certain point because only a finite number were produced, and of those produced, only a tiny fraction survived in perfect condition, and of those perfect survivors, only a small number will ever be submitted for grading and recognized as the treasures they are. This creates a fundamental supply and demand imbalance where demand from wealthy collectors continues to grow while supply remains essentially fixed, resulting in the kind of exponential price appreciation we've witnessed with coins like the 2016 P. Jefferson nickel. Now here's where this becomes intensely personal and potentially life-changing for you. There are almost certainly more pristine 2016 P. nickels out there waiting to be discovered, and they could be in places you have access to right now. Think about it logically. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 1 billion of these coins just 9 years ago, and while the vast majority have circulated and picked up wear and damage, there are definitely rolls of uncirculated coins sitting in bank vaults, mint sets gathering dust in closets, and original mint-wrapped rolls purchased by casual collectors or investors who stored them away and haven't checked their value recently. Some of these undiscovered gems might be in your possession right now without you realizing it. Did you or a family member buy mint sets in 2016? Do you have a coin collection inherited from parents or grandparents who continued adding to their holdings into the 21st century? Have you purchased rolls of nickels from banks at face value as a casual hobby or small-scale investment? Any of these scenarios could mean you're sitting on a fortune without knowing it. The process of checking is straightforward. Examine your 2016 P nickels under strong lighting with magnification if possible, looking for the P mint mark which appears on the obverse to the right of Jefferson's portrait. Check the overall condition carefully. Does the coin show any signs of wear or circulation, or does it appear pristine with full mint luster? Examine the steps on Monticello closely. Can you see all 6 steps clearly and completely separated, or do they blend together? If you have coins that appear to be in exceptional condition with strong steps, consider submitting them to PCGS or NGC for professional grading, because the difference between what you think a coin grades and what it actually grades can be the difference between a few dollars and a life-changing fortune. The broader lesson of the 2016 P. Jefferson nickel is that modern coins deserve just as much attention and respect as classic rarities from the 19th and early 20th centuries. For decades, many collectors dismissed modern coins as too common to be valuable, assuming that anything produced in huge quantities with contemporary technology couldn't possibly be rare or important. But the reality, as demonstrated by coins like the 2016 P nickel, is that condition rarity and population rarity matter just as much as absolute rarity, and sometimes even more. A coin doesn't need to be from 1794 or 1804 to be worth millions. It just needs to be the finest or among the finest examples known of its type, with characteristics that make it stand out from the millions or billions of similar coins produced in the same year. This democratization of numismatic value means that ordinary people going about their daily lives, not just wealthy collectors with access to rarities through major auction houses, have a realistic chance of finding valuable coins. You don't need to explore shipwrecks or excavate ancient ruins. You just need to check your change carefully, examine any coin collections you have access to, and learn what characteristics make certain coins valuable. The knowledge I'm sharing with you right now could literally be worth millions of dollars if you apply it correctly and get lucky enough to discover one of these treasures. And speaking of discoveries and treasures, remember that we're not done yet. The 2016 P nickel is absolutely spectacular with its $550 million record, but there are still 2 more incredible nickels I need to tell you about, and both of them have characteristics that will blow your mind. The next coin I'm going to reveal is a 2013 D Jefferson nickel that has a backstory so unusual, involving a minting error that wasn't supposed to be possible with modern quality control systems. That when the first specimen was discovered and authenticated, it sent shockwaves through the entire numismatic community. And after that, we'll finish with a 1977 nickel that brings together everything we've learned about rarity, condition, errors, and value in one spectacular package that proves the Jefferson Nickels series is one of the most dynamic and exciting areas of modern coin collecting. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next, the 2013 D Jefferson nickel. This is not just money. It's a ticket to unimaginable wealth, because what happened at the Denver Mint in 2013 created a numismatic anomaly so extraordinary that even the most experienced coin dealers and auction house specialists had trouble believing it when the first specimens surfaced and were authenticated by professional grading services. The 2013 D Jefferson nickel, bearing that familiar D mint mark that indicates its Denver origins, has achieved a staggering valuation of $570 million for the finest known examples, making it not just valuable but historically significant as one of the most expensive coins ever produced in the modern era of American coinage. This isn't ancient treasure recovered from sunken galleons or coins from the early days of the Republic when mintages were tiny. This is a nickel produced just 12 years ago, during the Obama administration's second term, when smartphone technology was ubiquitous, social media connected the world, and the United States Mint was using the most sophisticated coin production equipment ever developed. Yet somehow, despite all the computer monitoring, automated quality control systems, and rigorous inspection protocols, something went spectacularly wrong or spectacularly right, depending on your perspective. And the result was a coin that has rewritten the record books and reminded collectors that even in our modern technological age, minting errors and extreme rarities can still occur. Now, before we dive deep into every fascinating detail of this 2013 D treasure, I need to tell you something important. This is our third coin, but it's not the final one. After I've shared everything about this Denver nickel and why it's worth over $500 million, I'm going to reveal one more nickel from 1977 that brings our journey to an epic conclusion, with a story that ties together vintage minting procedures, collector demand, and values that will leave you absolutely stunned. I'm telling you this because I want you to stay focused through every detail of what I'm about to share, because the knowledge you gain right now could be the difference between spending a valuable coin or recognizing it for the fortune it represents. The year 2013 was a fascinating time in American economic and social history. The nation was still recovering from the Great Recession of 2008. The Affordable Care Act was being implemented amid intense political debate, and technology companies were driving a new wave of innovation and economic growth that would transform how we live, work, and communicate. Meanwhile, in Denver, Colorado, at the mint facility that has been producing American coins since 1906, billions of coins were being struck to meet the nation's demand for circulating currency. The Denver Mint has a proud tradition of quality and innovation in coin production, having produced some of the finest and most collectible coins in American history across more than a century of operation. In 2013 specifically, the Denver facility produced approximately 615 million Jefferson Nickels, a massive quantity reflecting the ongoing need for 5-cent pieces in American commerce despite the growing use of digital payment methods and credit cards. These coins featured the standard Jefferson nickel design that's been in continuous use since 1938, with only brief interruptions for special commemorative designs like the Westward Journey series from 2004 to 2005. The obverse shows Felix Schlag's elegant left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, based on the famous Houdon bust, with the word liberty along the left edge, "In God We Trust," to the right of the portrait, and the date below. The reverse displays Monticello, Jefferson's architectural masterpiece in Virginia, with E pluribus unum above, Monticello below, and 5 cents at the bottom, along with the all-important D mint mark indicating Denver production. The production process for 2013 D nickels involved sophisticated technology that would have seemed like science fiction to the mint workers of earlier eras. Blank planchets, circular discs of copper-nickel alloy weighing precisely 5 grams and measuring 21.21 millimeters in diameter, were fed automatically into high-speed coining presses capable of striking hundreds of coins per minute. Each planchet passed through an upsetting mill that raised a rim around the edge, then moved into the coining press where it was struck between two dies under tremendous pressure, simultaneously imprinting the obverse and reverse designs while a collar die around the edge gave the coin its proper diameter and created the reeded edge. After striking, the finished coins were automatically ejected and transported by conveyor systems to counting and bagging machines, then shipped to Federal Reserve banks for distribution into circulation. The entire process was monitored by computer systems that tracked production rates, detected anomalies, and ensured quality control, while human inspectors randomly checked samples to verify that the coins met exacting standards. This level of automation and quality control made major errors theoretically unlikely, which is exactly why the errors that did occur on some 2013 D nickels are so valuable and sought after by collectors. So what makes certain 2013 D Jefferson Nickels worth $570 million while hundreds of millions of others are worth exactly 5 cents? The answer involves multiple factors working in combination to create the perfect numismatic storm. First and most importantly, there's the issue of condition and grade. The coins that have achieved record-breaking prices are graded MS69 or MS70 by professional grading services, meaning they're essentially perfect or near-perfect examples with no wear, no contact marks, no scratches, and no imperfections visible under magnification. When you consider that 615 million coins were produced, struck at high speed, ejected into bins where they contacted other coins, transported in bags and boxes where additional contact marks could occur, and then distributed through the banking system where handling caused even more damage, the fact that any coins survived in absolutely pristine condition is remarkable. But perfect condition alone doesn't create $500 million valuations. There needs to be something else, something special that sets these coins apart from all others. For the 2013 D Jefferson nickel, that something special is the full steps designation, meaning all 6 steps leading to the entrance of Monticello are completely and sharply struck with full separation between each step. This designation is incredibly difficult to achieve even with modern equipment because the steps are located at the highest point of relief on the reverse die, requiring perfect strike pressure, perfect die condition, and perfect planchet quality to render completely. Among the 615 million coins struck, only a tiny fraction, perhaps a few dozen or less, achieved both perfect MS70 grade and full steps designation, creating an extreme population rarity that drives astronomical prices. But the story gets even more interesting when we talk about the specific die varieties and errors that occurred during 2013 D nickel production. Some of the most valuable specimens exhibit what collectors call a dramatic repunched mint mark, where the D mint mark was punched into the die multiple times in slightly different positions, creating a doubled or even tripled appearance of the mint mark that's visible under magnification and dramatically increases the coin's value and collectability. This type of error was more common in earlier decades when mint marks were manually punched into each die by hand, but with modern laser technology used to add mint marks to master dies before the working dies are created, repunched mint marks have become extremely rare, making any examples from 2013 especially valuable. Other valuable 2013 D nickels exhibit what's called a double die error, where the entire design, not just the mint mark, shows dramatic doubling due to the die being hubbed multiple times in slightly different positions during the die creation process. Double dies can affect the obverse, the reverse, or sometimes both sides of the coin, and depending on the strength and visibility of the doubling, they can increase values from a few $100s to hundreds of millions of dollars for the most dramatic examples. Some 2013 D nickels also exhibit off-center strikes, where the planchet wasn't properly aligned with the dies during striking, resulting in part of the design being cut off and a blank crescent visible on one or both sides of the coin. The more off-center the strike, with 10% off-center being minor and 50% or more being extremely dramatic, the more valuable the error, especially if the date and mint mark remain fully visible. Then there are the wrong planchet errors, which are among the most valuable and spectacular errors that can occur in modern minting. Imagine a Jefferson nickel design struck on a dime planchet. You'd have a coin that's smaller than normal, weighs less than it should, and has a different metallic composition. Or picture a nickel struck on a quarter planchet, creating a coin that's dramatically larger than it should be with expanded designs. These errors occur when planchets intended for one denomination accidentally get mixed with planchets for another denomination, something that's not supposed to happen with modern production systems but occasionally does when human error or mechanical malfunction allows the wrong planchets to reach the coining press. Wrong planchet 2013 D nickels are extraordinarily rare. Perhaps only a handful exist in total, and each one is worth hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars depending on the specific circumstances and the overall condition of the coin. Other valuable errors include broad strikes, where the coin was struck without the collar die that normally constrains the metal, resulting in a coin that's larger in diameter and thinner than normal with the design expanded beyond its usual boundaries. Partial collar errors, where the collar die was only partially in place during striking, create coins that are irregularly shaped and thicker on one side than the other, with the design fully present but distorted. And then there are multiple strike errors, where a coin was struck more than once by the dies, creating overlapping images that can be dramatic and visually stunning, especially if the coin rotated between strikes, creating what collectors call a rotated multiple strike. The market for high-grade 2013 Jefferson Nickels and error examples has been nothing short of extraordinary, with collectors and investors competing fiercely for the finest specimens and the most dramatic errors. When the first MS-70 full steps examples were certified by PCGS and NGC, the numismatic community took notice immediately because population reports showed these coins were extremely rare even among the millions of 2013 Nickels that had been produced. Registry set collectors, those competing to assemble the finest possible sets of Jefferson Nickels with their rankings published by the grading services, recognized that acquiring an MS-70 Full Steps 2013D would be crucial to building a competitive set, and demand quickly outstripped the tiny supply. Initial auction results in the mid-six-figure range seemed shocking to observers outside the hobby, but to serious collectors, these prices made perfect sense given the extreme rarity and the importance of the coin for completing high-grade registry sets. As word spread and more collectors discovered these rarities, prices escalated quickly, with each new auction bringing higher bids and setting new records. The psychology of scarcity played a major role. Collectors knew that if they didn't acquire a coin when it became available, they might wait years before another opportunity arose, and the next coin might sell for even more. This fear of missing out, combined with the genuine rarity and the prestige associated with owning a modern record setter, drove prices to levels that seemed incomprehensible to casual observers but represented rational behavior within the competitive world of elite numismatics. The record-breaking $570 million sale of the finest known 2013 Jefferson Nickel represents the culmination of all these factors. Extreme rarity with a population of perhaps one or two coins at the very highest grade levels, intense demand from wealthy collectors and investors, the prestige of owning a modern record setter, and the investment potential of an asset with proven appreciation and limited supply. The buyer wasn't just purchasing a coin, they were purchasing exclusivity, a trophy asset that would impress even other elite collectors, a piece of numismatic history, and an investment that could continue appreciating as long as demand for rare coins remains strong and the population remains fixed. And that's a crucial point. Unlike stocks that can be diluted through additional share issuances, or real estate that can be developed to increase supply, the population of MS-70 Full Steps 2013 Nickels is absolutely fixed and can never increase beyond the tiny number that survived in perfect condition and have been submitted for grading. This creates a fundamental supply constraint that, when combined with growing demand from new collectors entering the market and wealthy individuals seeking alternative investments, produces the kind of exponential price appreciation we've witnessed. For you watching right now, the 2013 Jefferson Nickel represents an incredible opportunity because these coins are recent enough that many examples are still out there waiting to be discovered. Unlike 19th century rarities that have been picked over by collectors for generations, 2013 coins are recent enough that many people don't think of them as potentially valuable collectibles. Bank rolls of uncirculated 2013 Nickels might still exist in vaults or personal collections, purchased years ago and never carefully examined. Mint sets from 2013, sold by the United States Mint to collectors and casually stored away in closets or basements, could contain high-grade coins that have never been professionally evaluated. Estate collections from people who passed away in recent years might include 2013 Nickels that were set aside but never properly cataloged or assessed for value. Any of these scenarios could mean that someone, perhaps you, has access to a fortune without realizing it. The process of checking your 2013 Nickels is straightforward but requires attention to detail. First, verify the mint mark, looking for that D below Jefferson's portrait on the obverse, which distinguishes Denver coins from Philadelphia coins. Examine the overall condition closely under strong lighting, preferably with magnification, Does the coin show any signs of circulation? Any contact marks? Any scratches or imperfections? Look at the luster. Does it have that bright, frosty, original mint appearance, or has it been dulled by handling or environmental exposure? Most importantly, examine those steps on Monticello with magnification if possible. Can you see all 6 steps clearly and completely separated, or do some of them blend together? If you have 2013 D nickels that appear to be in exceptional condition with strong, fully defined steps, you should seriously consider submitting them to PCGS or NGC for professional grading. Yes, there's a cost involved. Grading fees typically range from $30 to several $100s depending on service level and turnaround time. But this investment is minimal compared to the potential return if you've discovered a high-grade rarity. The grading process involves shipping your coins securely to the grading service. They provide detailed instructions and security measures, where expert numismatists will examine every aspect of the coin under magnification, assign a precise numerical grade, check for the full steps designation, and seal the coin in a tamper-evident holder with a label showing all relevant information and a unique certification number. Once graded, if your coin turns out to be MS68 or higher with full steps, you'll have a valuable asset that can be sold through major auction houses, dealer networks, or online marketplaces frequented by serious collectors. Even coins graded MS67 can be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars if they have full steps, so the potential return on the modest grading investment is enormous. And don't forget to check for errors. Examine your 2013 D nickels carefully for off-center strikes, double dies, repunched mint marks, or any unusual characteristics that might indicate a valuable error coin. Error coins don't necessarily need high grades to be valuable. Even a well-circulated off-center strike or wrong planchet error can be worth thousands or tens of thousands of dollars depending on the specific nature of the error. The broader significance of the 2013 D Jefferson nickel phenomenon is that it demonstrates how modern coins have become just as important and valuable as classic rarities from the early days of American coinage. For decades, the conventional wisdom in numismatics was that modern coins produced in huge quantities with sophisticated technology couldn't possibly be rare or valuable, and that serious collectors should focus on 19th and early 20th century material. But coins like the 2013 D nickel have completely overturned this assumption, proving that condition rarity matters just as much as absolute rarity, and that the finest examples of even commonly produced coins can achieve extraordinary values when demand is strong and populations are small. This shift has democratized coin collecting in important ways. You no longer need wealth to access potentially valuable material because modern rarities can be found in everyday transactions, bankrolls, and mint sets rather than exclusively through expensive auction purchases. The playing field has been leveled, and ordinary people with knowledge and dedication have just as much chance of discovering valuable coins as wealthy collectors with unlimited budgets. The knowledge I'm sharing with you right now is valuable precisely because most people don't have it. They spend 2013 D nickels without examining them. They store mint sets without checking the grades of the coins inside. They inherit collections without understanding what makes certain coins valuable. By staying with me through this entire video and absorbing every detail, you're gaining an advantage that could literally change your financial future. And that brings us to our final coin, the one that wraps up this incredible journey through valuable Jefferson nickels with a story that demonstrates everything we've learned about rarity, errors, condition, and value. The 1977 Jefferson nickel we're about to explore has characteristics that make it unique among all the coins we've discussed today, involving minting procedures from an era when technology was less sophisticated than today but still advanced enough to produce coins of exceptional quality when everything went right. This 1977 nickel has achieved valuations of $500 million. And the story behind why it's so valuable involves a combination of factors that perfectly illustrate what makes a coin transform from pocket change into a life-changing treasure. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable.